If you have a history of discrimination that is represented in that data, the statistical models that are underlying artificial intelligence learn that they should also
and will perpetuate it, basically. Yeah. Hey folks, Flo here with Blockchain North. One of our last interviews at Elevate 2024. It's been a fantastic event, I gotta say this, and we've bumped into a lot of great people. This was scheduled. We're here with David from Fairly.ai. David, why don't you just give us your 30 seconds elevator pitch? Who are you and what do you do? And then we'll dig deeper.
I'm the CEO of Fairly AI, and we do governance of artificial intelligence systems.
Okay.
This covers compliance and risk testing, as well as having the reporting needs that are associated with that delivered to our clients. And for any AI company that is looking at B2B, especially with enterprise, compliance is absolutely important to landing a sale. And it's also a big part of trust and comfort that people have with this new technology as it comes into our lives.
Okay, so I'm going to rewind us a little bit here. And what inspired you to become an entrepreneur and get involved in tech?
I did a good deal of artificial intelligence work in grad school, so I was very much at a theoretical level. And I was not happy staying at the theoretical level. I wanted to actually implement, I wanted to build. And so I started as an employee number 2 at an AI-focused startup. And that was a pretty good lesson in business getting started at that early stage. They, at one point, made a shift in leadership and asked me to be the CEO. And then I had a very big learning curve.
Yeah. And
I loved it. So that company I managed to sell. And I started Fairly as from the heart.
Very cool. Yeah, well, the heart, that's all we got, right? That's really our main driver. We interviewed Capley Judge from SPUR Innovation Center earlier, and he was talking about the fact that business and entrepreneurship is how you can really make a big difference in this world. Is this something that when you were a student you already envisioned, or would you say that it just kind of happened? And
I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur or that that's what I wanted to be when I grew up. I did want to be a movie director, and perhaps that's an entrepreneurial.
You know, Director X was here earlier?
No, I'd love to believe that. I still have the ambition one day.
Yeah,
I could get into, but it was more about solving problems in this world around the intersection of AI and human needs, and I didn't see anyone doing what I was doing, and that's what got me into this.
And we saw in your bio that you describe yourself as a purpose-driven entrepreneur, so I suppose the ethics around the businesses that you run and the impact of the technology you build is important. Could you talk a little bit about that? Like how people don't necessarily see AI and ethics as, a natural fit. Some people would say the opposite.
Well, there's definitely unethical ways to employ AI, but the main thing that convinced me early on that we needed to see a lot more responsible AI practices, to have a lot more discussion about how we are designing and ultimately deploying it on people's personal data, personal lives. Was when I was working with social media scanning for child safety in my first startup, and I saw the terrible things that teenagers are dealing with in the social, which we dealt with a lot in that data.
Are you a father yourself?
I am a father. I have a 4-year-old.
Yeah. So you care.
I can. I hope to have helped the technologies evolved by the time he gets to a certain age. But it's a whole new world that we're all dealing with when it's a digital first social sphere for many of us in many parts of our lives, and it's the artificial intelligence that is selecting what we see, how we see it, and the posing of information is a big part of child development, for example.
Mm-hmm. If you have a 4-year-old, I guess your child is going to be exposed to technology if he or she isn't already now very soon, right? It's these days kids are born with tablets, and those tablets are embedded with AI, right?
You can't keep it from them. We thought No tablets till they're a certain
Like those
age.
Silicon Valley CEOs, or
It's just not possible, man.
can you explain AI governance? Because I feel to a lot of people, again, that is probably quite theoretical. You were
Yeah.
talking about theory earlier, and how does that apply to people's daily lives, whether they're in business or not?
So there's a lot that goes into making an artificial intelligence system, like data handling, like how you optimize it, what you optimize it for, the test results, etc. And that is part of the governance of development, and then ultimately putting the systems into production. There's the same kinds of processes that need to be looked at. If you think of a AI agent as being something akin to an employee, think about the governance that you have over your employees.
Okay.
You want that same kind of governance over the AI systems. And instead of having a manager who says, come to my office, please don't talk that way to our customers tomorrow.
What, a set of rules or something like that?
You need to have tests, evaluations, and then ultimately processes to make corrective action on the AI systems. That's a large part of AI governance. Okay. It goes all the way back to the data that's being used for training or for information retrieval, to the actual data that's going through the systems, being able to monitor and make corrections.
Can you give us an example of, if it goes wrong?
So, interesting one in financial services came with the Apple Card. This is where Steve Wozniak and his wife had a pretty similar financial situation, and she was denied, and he was accepted for some financial products, and that got him interested in exposing certain bias issues from very large bank that was behind this.
You mean like she wouldn't have been accepted because she was a woman, for example?
That could be one idea, and in part people don't even know why some decisions that are automated are being made that affect people differently.
Right.
And so one of the major areas that we work with our customers, especially in financial services, but also human resources, is around profiling the outcomes of the models based upon race, age, gender, other legally protected factors, and both identifying areas where a model is biased, but also identifying reasons for that, and being able to have, for example, text scanning on a resume, be able to identify a women's volleyball team, for example.
Okay.
That indicates that it could be a female applicant, and then the model could say, learn that from historical data, female applicants don't tend to get these jobs.
Okay.
And so it would say, put that resume lower on the list.
Wow, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it?
It's in the data, and if you have a history of discrimination that is represented in that data, the statistical models that are underlying artificial intelligence learn that they should also
and will perpetuate it, basically. Yeah, that's crazy. I remember hearing about people in Africa complaining that they weren't represented a lot in, search queries, even on Google, but probably applies to AI as well, and that they just felt, that these technologies were mostly presenting Western data, stories, examples, and things like that. So similar.
Very similar. So we're dealing with probabilistic systems that there's not a true and a false answer. In many cases, it can be something fuzzy. We're also dealing with very nuanced, unstructured data like text, like image, where all the social factors that have already been in play for millennia with us humans are now being broached by the systems.
It's interesting because you think of bias as something that's inherently human, subjectivity being human, and you think that machines are actually there to help us, not be biased. But I guess because we code them, we, are the governors of those tools, then it's embedded.
It learns from data. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
It learns patterns in data, and then it replicates that.
Right.
And so if we are very careful, if we do ethics by design in these systems, we can have levers that we pull in order to correct. And in many cases, a self-driving car can be safer than a human. We could actually do better than humans in many
statistically,
ways.
certainly,
Yes.
I looked into your background, and you also have quite extensive academic experience in philosophy and cognitive science. I mean, again, I think when people think of tech, they just think of something kind of like brute force, hardware, software, kind of sterile, no emotions, But now the way you're speaking about it, there's a lot more interplay actually between, I guess, the human side, the emotions,
Yes.
the biases, for better or worse. How is that embedded into your work, your background in philosophy and cognitive science?
If you think about the old IBM machines that were used in putting, rockets into space, or mostly it was
It's actually scary to think that those machines put people into space, isn't it?
yes. The people that were working with these machines were very, very technical engineering types. But now that computing has evolved, we have graphic designers that are working. I mean, we all using computers at this point.
Yeah.
And in the same way, artificial intelligence in its early stages has been PhDs with, math, statistics, physics. And, in my case, it was advanced foundations of mathematics and philosophy of language that got me into the cognitive science side. But as it advances, it becomes accessible to everyone. So now with ChatGPT, people are actually using it directly, and it's only going to go in that direction. And so people that have more of a social science side, more skills dealing analytically with issues that are outside of the technology exactly, are going to become much bigger players. And so that's where I've found my personal mix of skills, being able to broach the technical side. I mean, I code in PyTorch a relatively deep level in part of my job, and part of my job I do all the business side, of course. And it's being able to jump back and forth between those that I think is a unique skill that I had for this particular moment.
And I wanted to ask you about the business side. So we've talked quite a macro here, and you've mentioned that it was a very steep learning curve becoming a CEO. What are some of the challenges that you faced, initially, and how did you address them?
Well, the challenges are that something new happens multiple times a day that you've never dealt with, and you have to constantly learn or have the good judgment, hopefully, to find the people that know how to deal with things. And so I think it's been myriad of challenges, but a lot of it really, I found, comes down to character. It comes down to ability to step back from certain things, allow for a lot of confusion. Or you just live in a very absurd world, and have to identify the things that you can actually move the needle on, and learn to accept the things that are just out of your control,
right?
And it can be resolved. I mean, that was for me a learning process. It's been years to get. But then on the other side, I mean, the more practically, like the sales side is something that took some time to pick up. I'm still picking that up, and allowing that other people are better than me at many, many things, amongst that. And the finance side was certainly something that I learned by doing. There's no MBA program that will help you negotiate deals and see all the pitfalls of missteps, and so there was a lot of learning by error, but there were a lot of advisors that helped along the way.
It's great that you recognize the importance of surrounding yourself with great people, whether it be on your team, advisors, investors. I mean, it's so true, and that's something that is often...
I like the phrase A players hire A players, B players hire C players.
Ooh.
I think that's... I want to always be the dumbest guy in the room and be okay with that.
Dumb is a very relative term in the context of this conversation.
I optimize to be surrounded by people that are better than me at everything that I'm not good at, I guess.
I want to conclude with a few questions about the future. I am going to ask you to try to predict the future. I know you can't, but I'm still going to try. I think it's important, and people watching, will be interested to hear a little bit about your vision.
Tomorrow.
The sun will rise tomorrow. Okay, that was easy.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe it won't. But with AI being so integrated in everyone's life, like we said, in our pockets, on our wrists, every tool, every company, every government, every tool that we use now is using AI. What part of you still has a little bit of nervousness about what could go wrong, or about how it could be used for less, let's say, ethical impacts?
Yeah. I'm frightened. I mean, I'm not worried that Arne Schwarzenegger is going to pop out tomorrow. That's maybe who knows.
That'd be great to meet him.
There are some of the precursors for that with robotics are actually advancing pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Weaponized drones that are autonomous. There's certainly a lot to be afraid of on
Yep.
that side. The things that worry me today are about misinformation, about the ways that the algorithms have been. I'm not worried about the future. I'm worried about what's already happening in many ways. That people are receiving only the information that is optimizing for clicks that then show a world that is very disconnected, we see as politically.
That reinforces their biases.
Reinforces their biases. And I think if we don't get on top of that, if we don't have a meaningful conversation about how our AI systems are optimized, what they're doing, and educate people on what's happening, but also to want to have more control, then we become controlled by digital systems.
Nefarious actors, yeah. Do you feel that conversation?
Reckless. I think it's mostly just reckless.
Oh, okay, interesting. Nefarious or reckless. Okay. Do you feel like that conversation is happening right now in the world? I mean, Canada has actually played a part, right, in ethical AI?
Yes, I mean, there's a lot of people that are very, very worked up about this, as well they should be. I think a lot of people feel very helpless, and we have to make proactive solutions to give people control, take the control back over their own data, how it's being used, and how the AI systems can be used for their benefit, rather than just simply being used to turn them into commercial products that can be bought and sold.
We don't need another widget at this stage. Yeah. Bringing this back to Canada for a moment, Canada had a national AI strategy. I think it was led by CFAR, and it was a pretty big investment. Canada was, I think, one of the first countries in the world to have a national AI strategy a number of years already ago. Do you feel like Canada is still a leader in the space? And if not, what more do we need to do to kind of reclaim that leadership we maybe once had?
I think Canada is definitely a leader in this space. I think there's certainly Canadian personalities that are influential on the national stage or on the international stage, and that people are looking to harmonize between players. Certainly Europe and the United States are the ones that people look to first, but Canada is that additional point of view that world actors are always looking to what Canada is doing.
Almost like a neutral actor as well, right?
A neutral one, yes.
Yeah.
So with, say, the regulation coming out of Europe, there's been European movement that was in response to the executive order that came out from Biden a little while back. They very rapidly in Europe made adjustments based on that. But the Canadian AI Data Act is also a major piece that was being thought of to harmonize with what Canada was doing on, let's say, regulatory side.
That's great to hear that.
We're part of the story.
Okay. Hey, I mean, of course, being a part of it is good. My final question to you is, being so embedded and literally building out this space, but also because of your academic background, can you give us a prediction? Is there something that you're convinced of over the next few years will happen with AI, whether it be something granular in Canada or whether it just be like a breakthrough that you see happening soon? I mean, is there anything you have super high conviction that I'm pretty sure that's going to happen over the coming years?
I don't see major breakthroughs that are just on the horizon yet. I could be surprised, but what I see is progressive growth and adoption. I think will just take time, but we will see a point where everyone is using AI tools, and it becomes a norm. And I think that's more about frog in the pot kind of. I mean, in a good way.
Yeah. I hope so.
we will turn around and be surprised that all of a sudden this has become part of our day-to-day. And for people like me, it's already part of my day-to-day life. But I think there's a lot of people that still haven't touched an AI tool. And once it gets over a certain threshold, then it will change the conversation amongst the entire culture.
Right. Awesome. Thank you very much, David. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. David from Fairly AI.